What if the story we've always been told about the dawn of civilization is missing about half the picture? For generations, we've heard a tale of heroic male hunters and leaders who single-handedly built our world. But a growing body of research is challenging that simple narrative, revealing a history that's been buried for millennia. This more complex story suggests that the crucial, world-changing innovations of our ancient past weren't driven by men alone. It's time we met the women whose contributions have been written out of history for far too long. Many scholars now suggest it's plausible that women were the ones who first made the connection that a fallen seed could sprout a new plant, kickstarting the long process of selectively breeding wild grasses into the grains that feed billions of us today. The invention of agriculture. We've all seen the pictures, men domesticating powerful animals, while women play a supporting role. But that's a modern assumption, and the science is starting to tell a very different story. A compelling hypothesis is emerging that places women at the heart of the agricultural revolution. It makes a lot of sense when you think about it. In many forager societies, while men often focused on hunting big game, women were typically the specialists in gathering plants, nuts, and berries. This gave them an intimate, generation-spanning knowledge of the botanical world. They would have been the first to know which plants were edible, where they grew, and how they propagated. It completely shatters the old-fashioned idea that farming was some kind of lighter duty. A groundbreaking 2017 study from the University of Cambridge delivered a jolt to our old assumptions. Researchers analysed the bones of women from Central Europe who lived during the first 6,000 years of farming and compared them to modern women, including elite competitive rowers. The results were stunning. The arm bones of these early Neolithic women were, on average, 11 to 16% stronger than the elite rowers on Cambridge's own celebrated boat club team. So what were they doing to build that incredible upper body strength? The researchers believe it was the repetitive, grueling labour of turning grain into flour. These women may have spent up to 5 hours a day grinding grain by hand with heavy stones, an action that powerfully loads the arm bones. They were also likely performing other demanding tasks like tilling soil, planting and harvesting by hand. This hidden history, written directly into their skeletons, reveals that their physical contributions to these first farming societies were immense and indispensable. Long before the first hospital, who did our ancestors turn to when they were sick? The evidence increasingly suggests a logical answer: the community's botanists. If women held the deep knowledge of plants for food, it stands to reason their expertise didn't stop there. They would have also learned which plants could soothe a fever, which leaves could clean a wound, and which roots might ease a toothache. This isn't just a guess. At the El Cedrón cave in Spain, analysis of 49,000-year-old Neanderthal dental plaque revealed traces of plants containing salicylic acid, the active ingredient in aspirin. This hints at a basic knowledge of medicinal plants long before our own species was the only one on the block. While we can't know for sure who held this knowledge, in many traditional societies studied by ethnographers, the gathering of plants and the daily healthcare of the community often fall to women. This makes it highly probable that women were the world's first pharmacists and caregivers. It's a highly speculative but fascinating idea that this knowledge may have even extended to family planning. Drawing on records from more recent traditional societies, some researchers propose that prehistoric women may have used certain plants to manage their own fertility, a level of bodily autonomy that was often lost in later societies. For thousands of years, this intimate, plant-based healing, passed down from mother to daughter, was likely the dominant medical system. Some scholars also point to the thousands of Venus figurines found across prehistoric Europe. What they represent is hotly debated. Are they symbols of beauty, fertility, or even self-portraits? But one of the many interpretations is that they were symbols of survival and health. In the harsh reality of the Ice Age, a well-nourished body was a healthy body. It's possible these figurines were used as charms for protection and health, a tangible link to the life-giving power associated with the female line. Women weren't just making cloth, they were engineers and innovators, and their work was essential to the survival of their communities. And here too, a fresh look at the evidence suggests women's hands were shaping the foundations of society. Consider two game-changing Neolithic technologies: pottery and textiles. Pottery was a revolution in a pot, allowing for the safe storage of grain, preservation of food, and better cooking. Based on the roles women often held in food preparation, some researchers hypothesize that they were the likely inventors. A strong argument can be made for textiles. In many traditional societies, spinning thread and weaving fabric has been the domain of women. It was demanding work that could be done alongside childcare and other domestic duties. And this wasn't just a craft, it was a foundational technology. This division of labour wasn't necessarily a sign of inequality. In fact, many archaeologists now view it as a complementary system. Studies of Neolithic burial sites in some parts of Europe have found interesting patterns, where tools buried with women are often linked to tasks like processing animal hides, while tools buried with men are more associated with hunting. The fact that these tools were considered important enough to be buried with their owners shows how valued these different skills were. It paints a picture where men's and women's roles were different, but equally crucial. Beyond technology, it's been proposed that women were the weavers of the social and spiritual fabric of their communities. They may have created the rituals, songs and dances tied to planting and harvesting, encoding their agricultural knowledge into culture itself. In doing so, they created the shared stories and traditions that turned a scattered group of people into a true community. The picture of our ancient past is being redrawn. The simple male-centric story is giving way to a more complex and, frankly, more interesting reality. The image of the prehistoric woman is coming into focus as a farmer, a scientist, a healer, and an innovator. Recent research has challenged the old rigid story of man the hunter and woman the gatherer, showing that labour was likely far more flexible than we imagined, with some evidence even suggesting women were also capable hunters. The evidence written in bone, stone and DNA suggests that women were not passive observers. Their physical labour, deep knowledge and technological innovations were fundamental to how we live today. We have to be careful not to simply replace one myth with another. The goal isn't to say women did everything, but to see that our history is a shared one. Women were not just supporting characters in the story of humanity. In many ways, they were its co-authors. The story of our past is still being rewritten. If you want to learn more about the hidden figures and forgotten histories that shaped our world, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell. And if this story changed the way you see the past, share it with someone. Let's help write these crucial contributions back into our history together.